Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Business Builder, where we discuss entrepreneurs building and scaling their business. Today, we have one and only Abraham join our podcast. So, welcome, Abraham.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So you're like the person who has built a lot of businesses, right? From real estate to all kinds of businesses that we don't know. So we'd love to learn more about your experience. If you can just give audience an introduction about who you are, a high level introduction about your past experience.
Yeah, so I started my first business when I was 15, and I'm 50 next year. So it's been almost 34 years now. And I've started many businesses, then started buying a lot of businesses, and I've probably bought and sold over 400 businesses since I was 15.
Wow, that's wild. Okay. We definitely want to learn more about that. So among all the business you have bought, like what is your criteria for selecting a business?
Well, right now, I'm trying to focus mostly on stuff in my market where I live in Atlanta. So most of the stuff that I'm looking at now is in the Atlanta market. I'm always looking for profitable businesses that are making, a couple $100,000 a year or more. I'm always looking for businesses that have a good team already, that have, like managers and people in place, that the owner's not doing a whole lot of the stuff, because if the owner's doing a lot and you buy them out and they leave, the stuff kind of goes downhill. And then, I look for really important for people that are very motivated, people that have a good reason why they want to sell, whether it's they want to retire or they're sick or they're moving or whatever it is, divorce. So I'm looking for those types of sellers. I'm looking for motivated sellers. That's how you get good deals, good terms, and ultimately that's how you're going to make money. And you could do a really good deal that works for everybody, and everybody wins. So if you don't have a motivated seller, it makes it a very tough acquisition.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so some criteria you mentioned, couple $100,000 as net profit.
Yeah.
So what's the revenue typically for that?
Typically, most businesses make 20%, 25%, 30% profit. So a business that makes a couple 100,000 is typically going to be doing $1 million a year in sales.
Got it. Okay, so a million revenue, couple 100,000 for the net profit. Having an established good
That's kind of
team
like a minimum. That's kind of like a minimum.
minimum.
Obviously, I want more than that, but that would be a minimum. Once you get like much below that, you're talking about really small businesses that usually the owner is running it. Usually there aren't many employees. It's a lot harder to grow those because you're limited to what you can do because they're not that big. And I want a business that has like a lot of managers and employees in place. And once you get to a smaller business, they don't have all that usually.
Right, for sure. Okay, and you want the owner pretty much is out of the day to day of
Yeah,
the business already.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
fully delegated,
Mhm.
and motivation is a important part as well.
For sure, for sure. And I like to find businesses that I'm interested in. I have some knowledge in that I've done stuff in the past with, or that I know someone that's really good at that business. That's probably a big key because a lot of these businesses I buy, I don't know anything about them, but I know someone that knows a lot about them. So that's really important. Once you start doing a ton of businesses, you could start buying stuff you don't know much about. But in the beginning, you should probably stick to stuff that you know a little bit more about, that you're more passionate about, you're good at, or at least have a partner or a good friend or relative that could really help you, that knows it really well.
Got it. So now, all the business that you're buying, right? Among all of the ones you've bought in over your extensive 34 career, what have you found as like the most common like problems or deficiencies that some of these businesses have had that you've come in and helped?
Yeah, everyone has different problem as far as in their business. As far as some people have no idea about marketing, some people have no idea about running, managing employees, and all these types of things. But in general, all the businesses that I've bought, people either were ready to retire, they were getting divorced. I've bought a few like that, or they were just kind of sick, or couldn't run the business anymore, and those were the main common things. Although there's lots of other reasons why you could buy good businesses, but those are probably the main three that I've seen over the ones that I've bought.
Mm-hmm. So if they are going to retire, but they are out of the day to day of the business already, they're just collecting cash flow. Like, why do they have to sell it?
Because they just don't want the worry. Like, if you own a business, you still And again, this is more of a mindset thing, but people think that they have to be involved. You don't necessarily have to be. Most people that have these businesses think they have to be involved. They don't understand how to not be involved. So if they knew everything that I know and other people know that run businesses that aren't involved, then they probably wouldn't need to sell it. But most people think that you have to be involved, and there's still headaches that come up, and you still have to get calls and questions. And if you just want to be done, you want to be done. At some point, you just don't want to work anymore. You just want to relax, retire, and it could be when you're 65, it could be when you're 80. Some people don't retire until they're 85 or 90, but at some point you're done. And when these people think that they're done and realize that they're done, and in their head they believe they're done, they really don't have many options but to either sell it, close it down, liquidate it. So usually selling it makes the most sense because a lot of times their kids or people that typically would inherit it just have no interest in it.
Yeah. So for you buying those businesses, do you typically buy them creatively, or you use
Always,
SBO?
yeah.
Always
Pretty
creative.
much every business is bought creatively. And when I say creatively, there's always some sort of owner finance component. Obviously there's a lot of other creative stuff on a lot of them, but having an owner finance component is like really, really important if you're buying a business. It's not like super important if you're buying real estate, because you can buy real estate, you can go inspect it, exactly pretty much what's wrong with it, what needs, all that stuff. But with a business, you can't really go and inspect it and know everything because this business has been around for decades most of the time. And there's so many things that have happened over the years with employees, with customers, with vendors, with merchandise, with all kinds of stuff that competitors that can come up way down the road that there was no way to do due diligence on at the time. So you want the owner on the hook a little bit to where they have skin in the game. You always want owners to have skin in the game. The only way to have owner skin in the game is to get them to owner finance some portion of it. Obviously, the more that they owner finance, the better. But if they basically tricked you or lied to you or something wasn't the way that it was supposed to be, you have some sort of leverage on them if you owe them money. You put in the contract that if this is what we agreed to, if this is not the case, you tricked me or you lied to me on something, you're going to lose all the money I owe you or a certain amount of the money I owe you. So it's really important. Even if you have all the money and you can pay for it, it's really important to have that leverage and to make sure that the person's not screwing you. Now, if somebody's owner financing a big portion, the odds of them lying to you and screwing you over is very slim because they know it's just going to come back on them. But if somebody was to get paid all cash or almost all cash, a lot more likelihood that they're going to try to trick you some because there's not much leverage you have on them.
Right. And also, I heard a common strategy is you pay them some, and then their final payment is indexed to the performance of the company. If you, let's say, with their help, the company accomplish another double or triple the revenue or something, then you can pay them even
Yes,
more.
that's a whole nother strategy. That's something totally different. But that would be like, let's just say me and you I want to buy your business, and you want $1 million, and I want to give you 800,000, and we're stuck at those numbers. Then we could do something called an earnout, which is kind of what you said. And an earnout would be, look, you want $1 million because you think it's going to do this. I want to pay 800,000 because I think it's going to do this. If it does better than I think, then you'll have you'll have a way to make that $1 million or maybe even more. So you base it on how the business does, but that would be additional to what you guys agreed to. So maybe we'll agree on 800,000 with an option to be able to make an extra 200,000 if numbers hit certain criteria.
Got it. So now walk us through like high level, like you have a seller that's motivated, wants to sell, you want to buy their business. What do you start looking at like initially to see if the business is even viable for you to buy? And then after that, like how does that conversation change to like the handoff process for them to start showing you like their processes and systems and all that
I mean,
stuff?
the first thing I look at, first thing is the P&Ls, right? The profit and loss statements, like the income statement. So it'll show how much money that they're selling in goods, services, whatever, depending on what the business is, and how much their expenses are and what their net is, how much is their profit. So I'll look at that. And then, people fudge the books some. So then after I look at that, I look at their tax returns because people typically don't lie on their tax returns, especially for multiple years back, because if you lie and make it look like you're making more, then you're paying more taxes. So obviously there are cases where people will lie because if they know they're selling it over the next year or two, they might do that, but that doesn't happen as much. But there's a lot of red flags that you could see in the P&Ls and in the tax returns if stuff doesn't make sense. But I'll start with the P&L, see if it even makes sense. And then I'll get tax returns to verify. And then you could even get bank statements to verify all the funds going in, all the funds going out. But I would say the P&L is the start, tax return second, and then there's a whole lot more due diligence you can do after. The bigger the company, the more due diligence I'm going to do. The more owner financing I'm getting, the less due diligence I'm going to do. If I'm getting very little owner financing, I'm going to do a lot more due diligence because it's more risky.
Yeah. Do you have like a framework besides the financial statement you mentioned? What will be the next step? Like a due diligence checklist? Do you have something like that?
Well, there's all kinds of due diligence you're going to do. You're going to do due diligence on the business, how much it's making. So that's all the P&Ls, the tax returns, bank statements. Then you're going to do due diligence on the actual business. Check their reviews, check to see if there's any lawsuits against them, check to see how the employees are like. Are they getting new employees every month? Are most of the employees there for years? And then you do due diligence on the business as far as, are there any new competitors that just came into town? Are there, is it, I would look to see, are their numbers going up or down every year, staying the same? I'd look to see, that's the type of stuff you look to see. And, from all that, you could determine, how good a business it is as well. And if it's worth a higher multiple, a lower multiple, based on a lot of these things. The other thing that's really important that I would check on is how much money they're making and what percent comes from how many customers. So if you're doing $1 million a year in profit and 800,000 is coming from one customer, that's super risky because if that customer leaves, you're out of business. So you're going to do due diligence on that as well. Like just because they're doing really good numbers, check to see how many customers are making it up. Who are their biggest customers? I'd always do due diligence on everyone's biggest customers, just to see how long they're going to be in business, how long they've been in business with them. Is there any reason why they might leave or stuff like that?
Mm-hmm. That's super cool and important. So, among all the businesses you purchased, can we do like a case study for one of them,
Yeah,
like
of
a
course.
story and the numbers,
Yeah.
whichever you want to share with us?
Yeah. So one of the, and there's a whole bunch I bought actually the last few years that are pretty cool. But the one that like I made like a YouTube video about that was like super cool that I talk about the most probably just because it was when I first started doing the masterminds and stuff, was this trophy store that I bought back in 2019. And since I bought that one, I bought a bunch of others, and I used different strategies to buy the rest. But the first one, so this was one that I wanted to pay a lot less than the person wanted to sell it for, but they were really stuck on how much they wanted. So I just structured it to where I could pay them a crazy amount, but just structured the terms really good to where it was even better to pay them double what I wanted to pay with the terms that I wanted. So the numbers on this was the guy wanted $1.2 million for his business, and he owned the real estate that the business was in. So the real estate was worth about 400,000. So the bottom line is he wanted 400,000 for the real estate, 800,000 for the business. At the time that I bought this business, it was making about 180,000 or so a year in profit after everything. So typically, what I would do is I would want to pay around 3 times what it makes. So I'd want to pay 550,000 or so for that business. You can make an argument that the business was making a little bit over 200, 220 because there's different ad backs and different things that the owner gets benefits for. But I always look at it on the most conservative side of how much I think worst case scenario is. So I was at like around 3 times, which was about 550,000 plus the 400 for the building. I was fine with, so I was at around 900, 950. The guy wanted 1.2. That was like there was no way he was going to sell it for less than that. So I made him an offer. I was like, look, if I pay you all cash, I'll give you X amount, right? I think I said something like, I pay you all cash. I give you 400,000 for the business, 400,000 for the real estate, so 800,000 all cash. If I was to give you, this much cash, it would be 900,000. This much cash, $1 million. And if you want 1.2, that's cool, no problem. I can do it. This is how I'll do it. And I came up with the way that I was going to do it. I was giving him 300,000 basically up front, and then the other 900,000 he was going to finance over 20 years. And 20 years is crazy to finance a business over. Most people finance businesses over 3 to 5 years. 5 years is kind of typical for the longest. 3 to 5 years is kind of normal. And one of my other offers that was a lower offer was financing over 3 to 5 years. But I was like at 1.2, which I'm paying a big premium, more than I think it's worth. I needed it financed over 20 years. And the reason why it's better to finance it over a longer period of time is because your payments are way less, right? So if you're financing something over 5 years, your payments are X. If you're financing it over 20 years, it's one fourth the amount that you have to pay every single month because it's 4 times as long you're financing it over. So your cash flow is way, way higher every single month. So, and yeah, we ended up agreeing on that. So I have to give him 1.2 million. So I am pretty picky about not using any of my own cash to buy any businesses, especially over the last 5 years. So I have to figure out a way to come up with this money without using my own money. There's a lot of million different ways to do it, but the way I did it on this particular deal was I went to the bank. I got a loan for the building at 80%. So I had to come up with $80,000 for the down payment, and then the bank financed $320,000 for the building that the building was in, that the business was in. So I used that 320 to basically pay the seller and have some extra money for different costs and different things, closing costs, and having a little bit of cash in the bank when I had the business. So I gave him that. Then actually, I had to give him 400,000 is what we agreed to, 400,000. So I got 320 from the bank, and then I had to come up with 80 more thousand. So what I did was, again, what I wanted to pay all cash was 800,000 for the business. So I went to a bunch of my friends that keep bugging me. They're like, "Oh, I want to partner with you on a business. I want to partner with you on a business." So I went to one of my friends that uh, kept bugging me, and I said, "Look, I have this good opportunity. This business is making this. I'm actually paying 1.2 million for it. I think I'm overpaying, but don't worry about that. That's because I'm getting special terms. I think a great deal on this business is 800,000. And if you want, I'll sell you 10% of the business at a valuation of 800,000. So give me $80,000 and you'll own 10% of the business." And that's what he did. So he gave me $80,000. I used the 320 from the bank plus the 80,000 from him, and I gave the 400,000 to the seller, and that was his down payment. And now I owe him 800,000 over the next 20 years. So this was over 5 years ago now. This is 2019. So I've already made payments to him for 5 years. I have 15 more years left. But that was the way that I bought that business with no money, and the business was cash flowing. Like I said, close to 200,000 a year. It continuously does that. So my cash flow is really good. The loan to the bank for the real estate was basically about the same amount, or actually a little bit less than he was paying himself rent. So that kind of washed out. So that didn't affect the amount of money I was making. And then the only difference is now I am paying 10% of the profit to my partner, which I ended up buying my partner out like 2 or 3 years later. So I own all of it again. But he made good money on it because he made the profit for the first few years, and I bought him out. He made extra profit on that, and I bought him out with a lot of the profit that I made over the years from that business. So I never had to use any of my own money still. But this is one way to do it. So I used some of the real estate, and I used a partner that I was able to sell a percentage of business from, but use all his money for the down payment. And of course, I gave him a little bit better of a deal than I bought, but because I paid extra on purpose because of the terms. So since then, I've bought multiple other trophy stores, and at the time I knew nothing about trophy stores. I had no interest in buying a trophy store or whatever. But the opportunity came around. It was cash flowing really good. The seller was super motivated. The seller was actually not even almost 50 years old. He wasn't even that old, but he was going through this divorce, and it was a big problem because the wife wanted to say that the business was worth a million something dollars, and the husband wanted to say it was worth a lot less, and they couldn't have come to an agreement. So if the husband took the business, he was going to owe his wife a lot of money, more than he wanted to, more than he thought it was worth. And the wife could not take the business because the wife didn't know how to run it. Like, she was never there. He ran it. So like, if she took it, it would go out of business. She wouldn't know what to do. So he kind of had to take it. So he wanted to sell it. And the reason why he did a 20-year term was because his wife's supposed to get like a certain amount of money every month based on the sale and what it was worth. So because it was a 20-year deal, he now has to pay his wife over 20 years instead of having to pay like right away or within a few years of the divorce. So it worked out well for him as well in that regard. That was one of the reasons why he was good with the 20 years. But that's just kind of one example. So the next couple trophy stores I bought, since then I've actually bought like five or six. So I think I bought six total now. It's crazy, and I knew nothing about trophies at the time. But uh, yeah, and the only reason why I bought more is because once you own a business, buying competitors is just so valuable. Like you could take all the customers, you could take all the employees, and you could cut all the costs. You can cut, the accounting. You can cut a lot of times. The rents and all these and the utilities because I moved a lot of these businesses into my location. They weren't that far away to where most business that trophy stores have are not really walk-ins. They're mostly corporate and basketball teams, baseball teams, schools. So you don't need to have like a physical location. It doesn't hurt that much. You might lose 5% of your business, 10% on the high side if you don't have a physical location. But the truth of the matter is, our location was central to all the other ones I bought. So none of the other stores were much more than 15 minutes, 20 minutes on the really high side away. So most people could come there. But again, most of the business is corporate, so it doesn't really matter. So I was able to move most of these other businesses from the location they were in into my main location because it was huge and I had a lot of extra space. And then I was able to get the best employees, the people that wanted to retire, I didn't have to take. And then again, I was able to do one accounting for everything instead of five different accountings. So I was able to cut that cost. I didn't have five rents, I had one rent. So I was able to cut that cost. So I just made a lot of all the money that they had coming in, I was still had coming in, but I didn't have all the expenses going out because I was able to cut it. Plus, now that I have all these trophy stores, I'm like I buy five times more than anybody else in the state or definitely in the Atlanta market. So I get a much better deal now because I'm able to buy so much more material. I get a bigger discount, so I'm buying stuff cheaper. I got rid of a lot of the competition, so now I have a lot more people. There's less people to price match with and stuff like that. So all the way around, it was really good. So the second trophy store that I bought right after COVID. It was maybe within the first year after COVID, and business was down a lot that first year because people didn't need trophies and medals. There weren't like big gatherings and tournaments and stuff. So the person, again, this was someone in their 70s. This was someone really old. They're about to retire anyway. It was just perfect timing. Their numbers went down, so we agreed on a price of 75,000 for their business. I mainly at this point wanted all their customers. They had like a lot of good schools and corporate that made a lot of money on. So I worked a deal where I paid them 20% up front, so 15,000 up front, the other 60,000 over 3 years, or I think it was actually 30 months, 2.5 years. So the 15,000 that I had to pay them on this particular one, what I did was I went through all their inventory, all their equipment. There was a lot of stuff there that I didn't need. They had some laser machines that were kind of valuable and some other equipment, but I didn't need it because I already had from a couple other stores that I had. So I was able to, within a month of when I was going to close the deal, I posted everything on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and I told people, look, come here, see if you want any of this stuff. And I put everything for sale. And I ended up selling like over 20 some thousand dollars worth of stuff that we closed on the day of the closing. I had people come there in that morning. They picked everything up. They paid for it, and I used part of that money for the down payment. So I think I sold like over 20,000 bucks worth of stuff. I gave 15,000 of it to the seller. I kept the other, 8,000, and then I've been making payments to them for 2.5 years. Actually, the last payment was about 5-6 months ago, so I don't owe them anymore. I paid them off, but that was another deal that I used some of the equipment to sell for the down payment stuff I didn't need. A lot of people, by the way, have tons of merchandise and tons of equipment. You don't need to stock that much stuff in most businesses. You can buy the stuff as you need it. So if somebody has a whole lot of stuff, some people are pack rats. You could get rid of a lot of stuff, use that money for something else, down payments or whatever, and you could just buy it as you need it, and you don't even need as much storage space, and you don't have spider webs all over all your shelves with stuff that you don't use as much.
Right. So yeah, that was very that was great. That's awesome.
So I want to quickly summarize like the two creative ways of, borrowing or other people's money method. One is by using the real estate, getting money from the bank. Another one is just being creative about the inventory, the stuff they have in stock, and we can sell those for down payment.
And getting partners that want to invest with
Right.
you that you can sell them a part, but get all the money for their part, and you're leveraging 90%. So yeah, if somebody there's so many people out there that want to invest, but they don't want to actually do the work. These silent investors, or they have the other jobs, they might be doctors or lawyers or whatever they are, but they have extra money to invest. So get those people, show them the returns, and then that's a way that you could come up with a bunch of money for down payments or wherever else you need without using your own.
Yeah, always using other people's money. So
Mm-hmm.
what is like once you basically you're going to buy the business and you have to now learn like what's going on in the business currently, like the handoff process with you and the seller. So when does that take place? Like how does it usually take place? And then once you know how the business is operating, what are your like plans to start getting the business to become better, to be more profitable?
Yeah, so that's day one. The first day you buy it, you go in, you meet everyone, you say hi, you introduce yourself, tell everybody what your vision is. You basically want to make sure you don't change hardly anything. The more change, it freaks people out. So you basically tell everyone, look, everything that's going on now, we're going to keep the same. If anything, we're going to get your suggestions, your opinions, talking to the other employees, and we're going to implement some of that stuff. So any single time that you could convince the other people that you're gonna listen to them and take their buy-in and change stuff based on what they want, that helps a lot, makes people respect you more. So I always try to ask everybody what they would do, especially after the first week or two. And most of the stuff you're not going to want to do, but I always try to take the one or two best things and do it just so they can see, oh shit, he did listen to me, he did do something, and that goes a long way. That makes people really like you, that builds rapport, that makes people want to work for you, not worried about all this stuff. Obviously, you always tell people, we're not going to change pay as far as you're never going to make less. You're always going to make the same or more. We're going to put in some different bonuses you can make or whatever it is based on the business. And you just show people how you taking over is only going to make stuff better. At the worst case, it'll be the same, but more than likely it's going to be better. And you're going to show them, look, the reason why this happened is because this owner wasn't good at marketing or wasn't good at this, and you show them how you have prior experience in doing good at that other stuff, and how you're going to make their work environment better or be able to make the business better to where you can pay them more or whatever it is. And that's what you do day one. And then obviously the people that you really talk to the most are the top level managers that run everything. And I pretty much would only talk to the highest level managers like for a long period of time, and just I would introduce myself to everyone, but have them kind of relay all the messages you tell them to everybody else.
Mm. Yeah, because that's like a person internally. People may be more receptive to the
Yeah,
things being said by
yeah. You
him.
got to get the general manager, whoever it is, to buy into whatever you want everyone to be bought into, because everyone's gonna listen to them because they know them. So you basically you just got to be smart and know how to make everyone happy and to get everyone to like you. That's really what it is in life. Forget about business. In life, if you get people to like you, they're going to go out with you on a date. They're gonna, they're gonna hire you. They're gonna, be your partner. They're going to, whatever you want, people will do if you get them to like you. So that's really what life is about: getting people to like you.
Yeah, because then with the like, comes a trust as well too.
Yeah, yeah, like and trust. That's building rapport. So once you have that, once you have rapport with someone, they'll do whatever you want. Like think about all the people that you like and trust. Like if they ask you anything, you'll pretty much do whatever they ask for, right? Within reason.
Yeah,
But like if you don't trust someone or like someone, do they even have a shot at you doing something for them? No
yeah,
way.
no shot.
So
Hmm.
no
So
shot.
for you to align the interest or really have the general manager buy in your vision, like what are some things you do or structure you build to
Some of the
incentivize
stuff
them?
we just talked about, like we're going to come in and we're going to show them the next 30 day, 60 day, 90 day, year plan, show them how their life's going to be better, how they're going to have a way to make more money, a way to potentially, work better shifts, work better hours, better,
Hmm.
uh, like better breaks, better, incentives. You show them all that stuff. You show them your vision of the business and why it's going to be better. And then, of course, you show them that, look, the person that was running it that I just bought it from is going to help me for this amount of time. We're going to make sure it's a smooth transition. We're going to, you just got to show them how their life's going to be better.
Yeah, just put their minds
Mhm.
at ease because they're probably,
Yeah.
as soon as they have new management, everybody's like, well, what about my job? Am I going to have a
I'm going to get
job?
fired.
Yeah.
So we make it very clear to everyone, look, the reason why we bought this business is because of you guys.
Yeah.
Like, if you guys weren't here, we never would have bought this business. Like, we don't want you to go anywhere. Like, it'd be devastated if
Yeah.
any of you guys left. So we make it very clear that they are the business and that they're super crucial and important.
Yeah, and it's critical that
Yeah.
you're buying businesses that already have good systems in place that are running. Otherwise, you're going to have to be way too hands-on with every
Yeah.
acquisition you have.
Yeah, and you could buy businesses that don't have good, processes in place, as long as you're good at putting those processes in place or have someone good at putting them in place. But obviously, if you buy a business like that, you want to buy it at a big discount because now you have to do a lot more
A lot of
work
heavy lifting,
getting
yeah.
those working. So it's gonna be based on what you're paying and the price and terms and who you have that could do it, and make sure you have a good plan to be able to do it if it's needed.
Hmm. Have you ever needed to like fire someone from the original team? Or let's
Yeah.
say the culture of the company is one of the issue you need to address.
Yeah. So when I buy a business, I always ask the seller, all
Hmm.
right, who are your rock stars? Who are the shitty people? Who are, whatever? And they'll tell you, like, look, you should keep everyone, but this person right here, this person, I don't know, like, this person you might want to get rid of at some point. So I already have a heads up, and then I'll go and I'll talk to the managers, and they'll tell me the same thing, and then whenever the right time is, we'd get rid of them. But I've never gotten rid of anyone's right away, but I've always I've always had the managers do it. I've never done it. I've never had to get rid of a top manager because that would be crucial. Like
Right.
that, I wouldn't even want to buy a business if I had to do that. So I always make sure the top managers are good. But yeah, there's always people in there you have to get rid of, but nothing crucial. That are not like
Hmm.
top level type people that matter as much.
So,
Got
out
it.
of the 400 or so businesses you bought and sold, have you? I'm sure you have, but do you remember like one of your worst business acquisitions?
My worst business acquisitions. So, I mean, I've bought.
You
I've
mean like, sorry,
definitely
like
bought a
corporate?
few. I probably bought a couple that didn't turn out that good, but I probably started a lot more that didn't turn out good. More than likely, if I have something that's going to go really bad, it's probably going to be something I start. It's very hard to buy a business that doesn't go like that goes terrible, because if you know what you're doing and you do your due diligence, you're going to look at the last at least 3 years, if not 5+ years of history, and you're going to do due diligence of, is this industry still needed? Is it something changing on it? Are there competitors? All these different things. So there's no reason why you should buy a business and it should automatically tank unless the owner just tricked you. So it's very rare that I would buy a business that like went bad. Now sometimes I bought businesses that got a little bit worse or a little bit better. Like a lot of the businesses I bought before COVID, when COVID happened, a lot of them just got bad.
Right.
But it wasn't
Mhm.
anyone's fault. It was COVID stuff. Stuff was shut down. But as everything started opening back up, they turned around and they're back to where they were. But starting businesses, 100%. I've started lots of businesses where I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and had lost a lot of time and headaches and stuff like that. But I've also started a lot of businesses that made like crazy amounts of money. So you got to be really good at knowing when to kill a business. After you start it, not let it keep going and draining. Like when to know to shut it down. But yeah, I've had lots of businesses that I've started that were bad. But that's one of my strategies. Is by the way, no one should ever really start businesses. It's really dumb for the most part. I do it, but I do it a special way. But like a normal type of business, if you're going to buy a restaurant, if you're going to buy a hair salon, if you're going to buy a business that already exists, a car mechanic or whatever, you should always find one that exists and buy it. I mean, you already have customers. You're making money from the beginning. You get to see their track record. You get employees and customers. You just get so much stuff, equipment, where to buy everything from, some sort of marketing, so all that stuff. So you should always do that. But the types of businesses that I start are businesses that don't exist. That's the only reason why I start businesses, is because I come up with some cool idea, or I see some cool business that exists maybe in another country or another state and doesn't exist where I'm at. And those are the types of businesses that I would try and open. Those are the only types that I would do.
What's
But
an
sometimes they
example of
don't go
that?
right. Sometimes they don't go right. And sometimes there's not a lot of data on them because either I'm the first person that's ever done it, or I've copied someone that did it in another country or another place that's totally different. So sometimes those don't go right, but it's okay because when they go right, you make millions and millions of dollars. When they go wrong, hopefully you lose tens of thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands. So you know, um, there's no way you're going to do everything and everything's going to work. You're definitely
Right.
going to have stuff that doesn't work. You just got to know, when to get rid of the bad ones.
Mm-hmm.
Not lose too much.
So, what's an example of those unique business you just built from the ground? And also, what's your decision framework for deciding if it's a time to kill a business or not?
Yeah. So if you see that you're losing money multiple months in a row and you don't see a way to turn it around, a path to turn it around, at some point you got to say, okay, look, I'm going to give this another month, another 3 months, another 6 months. And if it doesn't turn around, like no matter what, I'm killing it. So you've got to give yourself some amount of time that you know that if it doesn't turn around. But
Mm-hmm.
also you might say, look, this is how much money I have to put into it: $10,000, $100,000, $1 million, whatever it is, and say, look, if I get to where that money's gone, that's it. Like I'm not putting any more into it. Like don't just keep
Mm-hmm.
figuring out ways to put money into something that's going to drain. So those are different ways that I would kill something. But it's fine to have start businesses that don't do good, as long as you have that framework ahead of time that if it gets to this point, you got to shut it down. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you have a lot of good ideas, some of the really good ideas that you think are the best sometimes won't work, but some of the other good ideas that aren't as good end up going crazy. Like you just never know. It's weird. It's like a viral video. You watch some of these viral videos, you're like, that went viral. That's the dumbest video I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But you just never know. But the
Mm-hmm.
ones that don't do good with businesses, you gotta kill them. So you are gonna, if you have enough good ideas, you try enough stuff, you are gonna get something that's really good. So it's okay. Like the way I look at it is, look, if you start 10 things, the one good one, if it makes, $1 million, amazing. The other nine, if you lose 10, 20,000 on each one, you're still 800,000 ahead, so it's okay.
And you also
For
know
sure.
9 ways of not how to do something.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are some reasons that those businesses cannot be turned around anymore? They cannot be saved.
Well, you've done everything that you know how to do to market. You've done everything you know how to do to get the right employees, get the right locations, to get
Mm-hmm.
all the stuff, and there's just nothing changing. Like
Mm.
nothing's happening.
And
So
no reason can be found.
yeah, I mean, if you do something for long enough and you don't know what to change, you've changed everything you know how, and nothing's changing. It's like you've got to assume that it's gonna never get better.
Got it. So you mentioned you have lots of good ideas, and some of them works great. Some of them, turns out not as great. But like when you are in the idea generation phase, what is your feasibility study, like the checklist or the process for
Yeah,
that?
so I have a big checklist for that actually. So I have a spread. I do everything on Excel. So I have an Excel spreadsheet, and I put all the businesses that I want to try on like column A. And then column B, I'll put basically, does this exist anywhere? Does it exist anywhere? And then I'll do like all kinds of Google searches and other types of searches to see if it exists anywhere. I use actually a Groupon a lot too to do searches. I'll search if some of this stuff exists in
Really?
a Groupon because they have some really unique stuff as well. But and then if there are something that exists, I'll usually check into it, and then a lot of times I'll fly there and actually experience it for a couple days or longer, depending on where it's at and what it is. So a lot of businesses that I've tried or was about to try that I didn't try, I found like whatever business there is in another place or something close enough to where I can go and check it out. I go talk to the owners, go talk to the employees, go talk to the customers, and kind of see their experience. There's lots of ways that I could also check to see how much money they make. I could look and see how much does it cost to build this out. I could kind of figure it out. Um, I could figure out like how much, how big of a space do you need, what the rent would be, what type of location. I could figure out their business by either a few different ways. If it's like an entertainment type thing, which is a lot of the new stuff I've done over the years, you could go online and check their bookings, and you could see how many bookings they have for each hour, for each day, and if they're sold out or if they're fully sold, and you know how much they charge. So you can kind of see how much business they have and how much money they have coming in. You could also pay someone to sit there for a couple days and you know mark every single person that comes in or every person that goes out, and you can see how many people go in and out. I mean, it's worth paying any amount for this because that will literally make you start or not start a business that could save you or lose you, crazy amounts of money. But there's all kinds of like research like that. And then hopefully you can get on the phone and talk to some of the owners of some of these places. Some of the owners will talk to you, some won't because they don't want you to steal their ideas or whatever. Um, but employees will talk to you a lot more, so you could definitely talk to employees. And again, when you start asking questions, you don't like ask questions that seem like you're trying to get information. You're just kind of acting like a customer and trying to be friendly with them, and
Right.
you ask them stuff in ways that where they don't even understand why you're asking, and they just start answering everything. So I'm really good at that. I could get someone to
Like
tell me
secret
anything.
shopping.
I could get someone to tell me anything. Like you just got to ask it in the right way, you know. So but yeah, I get as much information that way. Like I said, I go and travel to these places. I've went to different countries looking at businesses that didn't exist here. I've definitely gone to plenty of other states and cities and looked at all kinds of cool stuff. And some of the stuff I decided it wasn't worth it. Some of the stuff I decided it was, and I started it. So sometimes I had a few things I wanted to start at the same time, and I didn't have the bandwidth to do it all. So I would go and search everything and pick the one that I thought would be best, you know. And I have like a whole system of how I rank everything, and based on how easy it is to duplicate, how much it will cost, how much I think it will make, how reputable it is in case I want to open more locations. So I have a whole like checklist and a ranking system, and based on the ranking, I'll usually start the ones that rank the highest first if there's multiple I want to do at the same time.
Did you develop the ranking system
Yeah,
yourself?
yeah. I developed everything on this. Very, very, very few people. I don't know if anyone actually does what I do as far as starting new businesses. It's a very rare, unique type thing. So a lot of these businesses that I've started is where I made most of my money. The jewelry business, nobody did that when I did it. Like where we buy gold, I was like the first we buy gold store in the world probably. And I had over 300 stores at one point. But that I figured that out in one of these systems I'm telling you. No one had We Buy Gold stores, but people were doing other stuff with gold when gold became really popular when I started. And I kind of did research, and that's how I started that. But with escape rooms, I did the same thing. There were already escape rooms around when I started my first escape room, but there was very, very few. Now there's probably 10,000. When I started, there might have been like not even 40 or 50 in the country. Axe throwing, I was like the third axe throwing location in the United States. There was only like two other axe throwing companies. Now there's thousands and tens of thousands probably. So I went around, I looked at other people's, I did all this research. I went to other countries. I went to the two states that had them. I checked them out. I saw, how much it cost to build out, how much I think it'll make, how busy they were. And I saw like these places were packed, and how much money they were making. So that's how I ended up starting some of those types of businesses.
So that's nuts, right?
They didn't exist. They didn't exist. Like I was the first one in Atlanta that had axe throwing. I wasn't the first with escape rooms, but I was in the top 3 or 4. But within a few years, there were hundreds of people in Atlanta. Over 100.
Do you just like walk around and just think of ideas like that as they come, or you like actually have time to just sit and start thinking of different ideas?
Well, so I definitely, every time I'm driving around like my city, or especially when I'm out of town driving around cities, I always look at every single store that exists and see like something unique or something cool. I'll stop in and I'll go talk to the people, or I'll be like, damn, this is a cool idea. Like, where did this come from, bro? But then I'll also go on Google and search, what are the hottest new trends in Asia? What are the hottest new trends in Europe? What are the hottest new trends in, the West Coast, or whatever? And then and from there, like 3 other things come up, and then 5 other things, and then you could spend like a whole day just looking at stuff, and then anything that really seems interesting, you basically do more research on, go check the places out. Groupon is a big one that I look on. I look on Groupon for things to do. There's always crazy cool stuff in certain cities that are only in those cities,
Right?
And some of them are really hot and they'll never go anywhere else. But when I see that, I'll go there, I'll check it out. I've taken my wife on trips and my kids on trips to different cities just to go do different things. They thought it was because I was just trying to be, a good dad or a husband and just take them on a trip. But no, I wanted to see if it's a good idea where I could bring it back to Atlanta.
That's so funny.
And so I make the trip, twofold, so it works out really well.
It's business expense.
Business expense. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Now you've started and you've also bought a bunch of businesses. For somebody that also is like interested in being like a serial entrepreneur and starting a bunch of businesses, but they sometimes feel overwhelmed by the amount of stuff they have to learn. What would you say are like essential qualities or things that you should look into to?
Creativity. You just got to be creative and have common sense. I think common sense and creative is good. Like I, I mean, in school, I got like straight D's. I just passed barely. Like I was always good at math. So math, I probably got A's in, but everything else, like I was bad. But I always had good common sense. Like I wasn't book smart. Like if I had to take SATs, I would probably be like on the bottom. Like I wouldn't be better than average. I'd be below average. But when it came to street smart and just common sense and how to talk to people and how to get people to like you and all that, I was always at the top. I could get anyone to like me. I could figure out any problem that exists. I could figure out a way to solve it. And that's what's important. It's not important to be book smart. Like you could be horrible at school. Like you'd be the best. You could be the smartest person in school and be an idiot when it comes to business. So they're two different total types of things. Like being smart is all relative. Smart at what?
Mm-hmm. So being creative is a key
Be
part.
creative, but getting people to like you is by far one of the most important things. We talked about that earlier, but if you are good at talking with people and you are good at getting people to like you, and you have to be authentic, and people have to think you're authentic. People can't think that you're bullshitting them. But if you could really, get people to like you and they think that that's really you, that you can meet some of the wealthiest people, some of the most important people, and if they like you, they're gonna want to help you. They're gonna take you under their wing and do stuff. So
You get a lot more
that's really really
information that
important.
way. Yeah,
Yeah.
you learn a lot better when people like you.
Mm-hmm. So, like among all the business you bought, how many would you say you are holding at the same time? Like you are running how many business at the
Yeah,
same time?
I hold them all. I don't really sell that
Oh,
many
really?
businesses. I don't sell that many businesses. I buy them for the cash flow. See, for rentals, I mean, I do buy and sell a bunch of properties, but my average rental property makes a few $100s a month. My average business makes 15,000 a month. So
Mm.
like, why sell them? I only sell them if someone gives me a really good offer, or if they just become a headache. If they become a headache for me, or I think that the business is going to turn and it's going to go down, I'll sell them. Or if it just takes too much of my time, but the cash flow really good. I have a ton of income coming in. I don't really have to do anything with businesses. I'm never at any of my businesses. Spend very little time on them because I have a partner or really good managers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Your
never really
tax
look to
return.
sell them. But
Your,
like if you were to come to me and say, "Look, I want to buy your business," I would. It's not. I would definitely sell it. I would give you a price.
Mm-hmm.
your tax return
So,
is probably the size of like an encyclopedia.
You don't even want to know. It's like it's thousands of pages.
It's so crazy. I
Like in
can't
the
even
thousands.
imagine doing your. I used to be a CPA. I'd probably quit if I had to do your
Oh,
tax return.
yeah, I can't even like download anything because it's too big. I don't know how many trees I kill every year doing taxes, but it's definitely,
It's definitely a little
definitely
mini forest.
yeah.
uh, so because you own like so many businesses at the same time, I'm guessing you're completely out of a lot of businesses in terms of the day in day out.
Yeah,
Like, how do you
completely.
manage all of them, the portfolio at the same
So
time?
almost every business I have, I would say 90%, I have a partner, and a lot of them I have two partners or three partners. So sometimes it's just me and one other person, two other people, but we all each have our own roles. And my role is the role to find the businesses, negotiate the deals, and close on them with the right terms and everything else. My other partners are, one of them is an operator, so I have a partner that operates all the businesses, and I have different partners with different businesses. But I have multiple partners that are operators that do different businesses I have. But and then I have one partner that that's in charge of all the accounting and legal and different strategy of the business once it's going. And then of course we all talk and collaborate on different things that we all make decisions on. But the partner that is in charge of the operations is the one that is the most involved with the business and basically still really doesn't do a whole lot with the business, but they're in charge of the general manager, the manager, district manager, regional manager, and they talk to them multiple times a week. And if they need to get more involved, they do. They probably go in a couple times a month, but for the most part, they just mostly talk to the managers, and they don't really need to go in unless there's problems. Now we look at the P&Ls every single month, and we check to see if anything drastically changed that we need to discuss. But for the most part, everything goes pretty smooth as long as you have good people on top. Then you should be good. If you have bad managers, then it's horrible. Then you got to be there more, and you've got to find someone fast to replace them.
Right. Is it the common practice for the three partners you mentioned? One is the acquisition person, another one is operator, another one is the legal tax person to do the equal split, or what's the common practice in the
Yeah,
industry?
so the way that I do all my splits with all my partners is based on how much money we each put into it. So
Oh, really?
if we have three partners and we each put in a third of the money, then we're a third partner. But I have some partners that don't want to put in a third. Maybe they want to put in 20%. So maybe even if they do a third of the work, they might be 20% partner, and then me and my other partners might be 40-40. So it could be 40-40-20. But it just depends. Every business is a little bit different. There's also a lot of businesses that I have my operating partner that didn't put in any money, but they put in like crazy. They're putting a crazy amount of time because they're there all the time,
Mhm.
especially in the beginning for years, and maybe eventually they find someone. And a lot of times I'll just give them like 20-25% of the business for their sweat equity, basically. And have multiple businesses like that as well. And they're in charge of the operations, but they got their percent by sweat equity, and they're putting a lot of time in.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. There's
It's all
another
negotiable.
question.
There's no set in stone. Everyone does it differently. There's no right or wrong. The only way it's wrong is if people aren't happy. If we
Right.
work a deal and everyone's happy, it's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure. So all those partners, like, do you just come across them? They're from your friends network, or you hire someone? Like, what's the process of
Yeah,
finding
most of
those
my partners
partners?
I've been partners with for a long time. So I've had lots of partners 20, 30 years ago, and the ones that were good, we got along well. We just did more and more stuff together. The ones that weren't good, we don't talk anymore. But every few years, yeah, I find new people. Like when people are around me and I see they're smart, I like them. Like I have a good vibe with them. I try to get them involved and do stuff with them. So I get new partners all the time, but most of my partners are people that I've been doing stuff with for a long, long time. Because having a partner is like having a husband or wife. Like if you don't get along, it's horrible. You're with them probably as much as you're with your spouse, sometimes more.
Yeah.
Have you ever needed to like buy out a partner because they're not fulfilling their part
Yeah,
of
I mean
the?
there are definitely times where that happens, but it's very rare these days because I'm really picky and I kind of set up stuff to where it's if something doesn't do what they're supposed to do, it's kind of pretty much set. Like you have an operating agreement, and in there you spell out all these different things, so it doesn't happen that much. But you're still, you know, no matter how good you are, there's always stuff that comes up. There's always going to be some problems. Typically, when businesses go bad, start losing money is where the problems are. When businesses are really good, you don't have as many problems. But as soon as a business goes bad and you start losing some money and you have to make tough decisions, that's where you see if your partner is good or bad. That's where you know, that's where you find out your bad partners for sure.
Yeah. Everybody's happy when they're making money.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so this has been amazing, and I could probably stay on for like another
I
hour and
want
a
to ask
half.
one more
All right,
question,
fine,
John,
fine,
before
fine.
we end.
Yeah, one more
Okay,
question.
one more question. Because me and John were doing, besides wholesaling company, we're also doing development and new construction. So doing going vertical. And we do want to have development company and construction company. So sounds like buying a business is a better approach than building one.
It's not
Do
even
you have
close.
any
It's not even close. It's like I mean, it's like this. It's like one's on the top, one's stupid. Yeah.
Right, agree. I completely agree. So, do you have any tips you can share with us for like what me and John should be doing to start looking to buy construction and development company?
Well, first off, figure out what cities, states, wherever you want to buy them in. Once you know that, then just search for all the ones that exist. There's lots of different ways. The cheapest and fastest, easiest way is just to go to Google and search every one, and then just start calling them, going by, talking to them. I have like this really cool letter campaign where I send these letters out. It's super unique, like no one else does. That's how I bought a ton of businesses over the years. There's email campaigns, there's social media campaigns, there's all kinds of stuff. LinkedIn is really, really good for reaching out to business owners and things. So that's like a whole long type, discussion. But those are the types of things that I would start off by doing. And once you get in contact with them, if someone's interested, they'll call you back, and you got to follow up multiple times. And once you show them why you're a good fit and why it makes sense to sell it to you, you could usually work a deal if they have any interest in selling.
Hmm. Do you have any like mastermind or class? I know you have a mastermind that I want to join. When's the time for the next one? And do you have any mastermind teaching
So
by
the
business?
next mastermind I do, so I do a lot of lending. I do a ton of private money lending for fix and flips for real estate. So I've
Hmm.
been doing that. That's probably been taking more of my time than anything else lately. So I do. I have like over $20 million out in loans right now of my money and some investors' money, and I teach people how to set up their business and do it. So my next mastermind for that is called a private money lending mastermind. Is September 28th and 29th. It's like South Florida, like Fort Lauderdale, Pompano Beach area.
Oh,
So
nice.
that is it's in like 2 weeks or something. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
in 18 days. Yeah, 2.5 weeks. But yeah, I do business masterminds as well. I used to do like three a year. This year I only did one, but next year we'll ramp up and start doing more again. Just follow me on social media. If you follow me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff, you'll see like different things I'm doing. I always answer everyone's questions if they message me and stuff like that. So that's probably the best way to stay in contact.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Love it.
Appreciate that.
Cool.
Yeah, so we always like to end it off with three the same questions. So I'll start off with the first one. What do you do consistently every day to like stay sharp with your mindset, or any mindfulness practices that you do to just keep a good attitude throughout the day?
Yeah, so I'm big like in martial arts. So I try to go 4 days a week and do martial arts. That like every time I don't feel good or I'm tired or I'm lazy or my mind's messed up, I go in there just with a whole bunch of other guys and we do our martial arts and I come out like feeling so good, refreshed, and ready to do whatever again. So that's my thing. I like going to the gym.
Yeah,
That's great.
I just started getting back into jujitsu. I went this morning, and the like the feeling you feel after it's
Oh, it's
indescribable.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, you feel so good. And the people in the class are so cool. You have so many friends there.
yeah.
What belt are you?
I just started, so I'm white right now.
Oh, you just started? Okay. I've been doing it almost 12 and a half years.
Holy, what are you, like a brown belt?
Yeah, I've been a brown belt for a long time. Yeah. I've been, I was a white belt for like a year and a half. I was a blue belt for 4 years, a purple belt for 4 years. And I've been a brown belt for like 3.5 years now.
Getting there to the black belt.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. The second question is, what are you doing consistently to like grow your knowledge, stay up to the trend of the industry, the business, all that?
Yeah, so I like going on social media and checking just what everybody else is doing. I actually learn a lot from just seeing what other people are doing. Obviously, then you go on YouTube, you listen to all these different people that are really good at whatever they're good at. That's how I found a lot of the people that I follow, like Pace Morby. I just found him on YouTube and I check all his stuff out. Carl Allen was a business person. I found him on YouTube and to follow him. And I learned so much just from basically social media, YouTube and more Facebook, not as much Instagram, but Facebook and YouTube. I learn a lot. I don't read that many books or do that much stuff. I do go to some conferences and stuff like that as well in person because I don't think you learn as much at the conferences as the conferences that I go to. People just kind of talk for like 1 hour and you don't learn a whole lot. They just kind of give you like an outline. But if someone talks the whole time for like a couple day thing, then you can learn a lot. But I think it's worth going because you network and you learn a lot from the people there, and you get a lot of partners, you get a lot of different deals. So that also is really good.
So you just see what people are doing, and if you're interested, just text them, ask them more questions, and learn from that.
100%, yeah, and just copy all the successful people. I love copying successful people. Like all through school, that's how I got through school. I cheated my way through the whole everything. Like literally, I didn't want to figure anything out. Like if someone's good at it, just copy them.
No
Mhm.
reason to reinvent the wheel.
Put your little tweaks in it, make it your
Right.
own, but like copy them.
Yeah, can't get caught plagiarizing.
Mhm.
So then, last one is what is one piece of advice or you would give to aspiring entrepreneurs or somebody that just is in the beginning of their entrepreneurial career?
So, I mean, the most important thing for sure is to hang around other people that are successful that are doing what you want to do. I mean, that's how I got really good at what I got good at. That's every single person I know that got good at it or learned from other people. So you go to the local meetups, you go to the local social, Facebook groups, and you learn from all those people. You figure out ways to help people that are better than you, so they get to like you and they get to put you in their circle, and then they start helping you, and you do stuff with them, and then eventually you can do your own thing. So that's kind of, I would say, is probably the most important thing to do when you're trying to. So don't try to do everything on your own. Don't try to not learn from people. Make sure that you're in the right groups, network.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah, your network is your net worth.
For sure.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Abraham. It's definitely one of my favorite episodes. We have learned so
you said
much.
it to you said it the last one. You said it to everybody. You're so funny.
He's gonna watch all the other episodes just to make sure you didn't say that to somebody.
This is really one of my favorites. My first time saying that, but yeah, it's so interesting and fascinating.
Yeah, I'm good at catching people bluffing. You see?
John, it's my first time saying that, right?
That's your first time today saying that? Yeah, 100%.
Okay, well,
What's your first podcast today?
Okay, but I'm super looking forward to join that mastermind for business. Hopefully, that will come sooner next year.
Yeah,
Me
next
and
year.
John will definitely be there.
For sure, 2025.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Abraham, again for taking the time, and we'll talk soon.
Appreciate it.
See you later.
All right,
Take care.
bye.